Welcome everyone. Welcome to the Planning and Zoning Commission. It's Monday, October 3rd, 2022. It's now 6:30 p.m. We do have a quorum for tonight. You have myself, Derek Parks, Chair.
Derek, we need a quorum in person. We'll quorum via Zoom, but I think, according to Bob, we need to have 3 people here, since we're trying to get hold of you real quick.
Correction.
Oh, there he is. All right, now we can restart.
Actually, we do have a quorum. We have, myself, Derek Parks, Chair. We have Mr. Leroy Klein, Vice Chair to my left. We have Ms. Karen Stanfield, she's here present, member. And we have Mr. Scott and Mr. James by Zoom. Also to the city staff, we have Ben, Director of Development Services, and Emma, Planning and Zoning Manager, here present also. First consent agenda item tonight is to approve the minutes of the meeting for September 6th of 2022 that we had at 6:30 p.m. Commissioners, do you have any questions or concerns regarding the minutes from Tuesday, September 6th? Now, can I have a motion, please? Okay. And motion, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. September 6th minutes have been approved. Moving down to new business, which is number 2. Conduct a public hearing and consider a zoning change from commercial C1 to planned development 146 to allow for a reduction in landscaping and park requirements on the properties located on the southeast corner of Sunflower Street and east of Villa Road, identified as lots 1, 2, and 3, Lot C, Island Meadows number 1, addition, addressed as 233, 235, and 237 of Villa Road, City of Red Oak, Texas, Ellis County. Case number Z as in zebra, C as in cat, 22-29, by Claude Mitchell. Staff, please.
Good evening, Commissioners. This is a request to rezone the property from Commercial District 1 to Plan Development 146 to allow for the proposed landscaping to serve as the required landscaping on site. The applicant will be installing 1 hanging basket with faux Boston ferns on each building column with 3 dwarf building buffer hollies on the east side of the property. As a result of insufficient calculated parking for the site, a parking agreement which allows customers and tenants to park anywhere on site has been drafted. Staff has also created a parking matrix which will allow for less restrictive parking requirements. The existing dumpster will be enclosed with masonry screening, and the existing pole sign will be bricked as shown on the attached elevation plan. Staff recommends approval of the request as presented, and the applicant's representative is here as well. We're available for any questions.
Hello. Nandiyan namin Zoom meeting.
Do you want to add something?
No, seriously, I mean, essentially, all it is it was one of these cases where we received a CO application, did our CO application review, the parking was inadequate, the landscaping was inadequate, and therefore we have to bring it before you guys to the PD, which allows for custom landscaping and parking requirements, and in lieu of, creating parking out of thin air, which they don't have space for. They agreed to, brick up this, sign to make it a little nicer. They're going to install a, fence here in between them, their property, and there's the Dollar General next door. They have a lot of people, I guess, that park at their.
So-
Can I say something?
Oh, sorry.
So we'll have a public hearing in a little bit. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, but that metal fence, they're no longer gonna put it in between the parking and the Dollar General.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. But then they also added a dumpster, which they don't have right now. Things that typically we would require of anybody doing a new development. We're just basically trying to get them to do as much as they can, even though they can't meet all of the basic C1 requirements. We're trying to get them to do as much as they can in terms of landscaping and upgrading the building. So that's all it is.
Okay. Thank you. This is a public hearing, so, those in favor of this item, you can go to the podium and just give us your name and your address.
Okay.
For those that are in favor of this item, then those that are against this item, or who have questions, you are to go second. Go ahead.
I'm Jeff Mitchell. I'm representing my father, Claude Mitchell. He's had hip replacement surgery today, so he asked me to attend. I have been working, with the designer on this. The fence, we scrapped it because, we're kind of worried cars are back into it. It's gonna be right on the concrete. He would like it there, but it doesn't seem feasible. We put it to where the AC units would be on the east and the west side, so we can add additional parking in the back. That was one of the problems. And yeah, that one shows the back. So if we move the AC units around, instead of on the back, we can add additional parking there. Do you have any questions for me? My mother did have one question. She wanted me to ask this question. She asked me, one of the buildings is considered to be older, the one on the east side. She's wondering if, if there's any kind of a grandfathering in on that one building. And
No,
then
there's not.
okay.
There's
Well,
not.
she wanted me to ask that question.
I've gone through all that with Mr.
Okay,
Wells, so.
okay.
We talked through what grandfathering means and non-conforming and conforming and why now that these things are done and why they didn't have to be done in the past, things like that. I've run through that whole thing with them.
Thank you.
So we'd be happy if she wants to hear it too.
I'll
Welcome to
I'll
come
let
in
her know.
and we can talk to her about it.
Yeah, I'll let her know.
Okay.
And then the ACs there on the east side, we put in a buffer, a screen to kind of screen them.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, each one of the columns, I don't know if you can go to just to improve the looks of the big, front of the building. Just some nice, faux hanging baskets that'll be on each column.
Yeah, so you can kind of see it there on the columns that are existing there. There's nothing on right now, so they're doing the hanging baskets, just to get some more greenery in the front. Because again, if this was being built today, it would require much more landscaping. And so this is just an effort to try and green the space, because they don't have the space to do it. Setbacks and where the road is and where the parking is, so on and so forth. So in lieu of, making them rip out half the parking to put in landscaping, that's a solution that kind of gets a little bit of green in the front.
Anything else, sir, you want to add?
If you have any other questions for me, let me know. I don't have anything to add.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else in favor of this item? Yes, for the motion. If not, anybody here present or on Zoom that have any questions regarding this item? Yes, sir, before you give us your name and your address, please. Now, can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to close.
Second by Karen. Public hearing has been closed. Commissioners, do you have any, questions or concerns from the applicant or the staff? Go ahead, Ms. Iron.
I have a couple. So when
Go ahead,
you,
Ms. Karen.
when it says, the parking agreement so they can park anywhere on site, does that mean including the back, is that what you're?
Yeah, so this is technically 2 lots,
Ah,
or 3 lots. It's technically 3 lots.
okay.
And so, they are basically doing a parking agreement with themselves,
Okay.
because they own all 3.
Yeah.
But if they were to sell one, then that parking agreement still stands
Okay.
when the sale of the property goes.
Okay. And in that parking matrix, you have, 1 parking spot for 15 at the martial arts, which,
Which is less than, what is it normally?
I think it's 1 for 14. Oh, really? That's, okay. It just seemed like there, the council will have a parent there, and that's, there's,
So our base ordinance is 1 for 14.
Well, it's countable for like a school, since most of the students there are children, they can't drive there. So
Right.
that's how it was calculated.
okay, that's interesting. It doesn't allow for parents to stay there watching kids or raising their.
Oh, parents will stay there,
Right.
wanted to stay in Washington.
But right, the way the zoning ordinance is set up now is 1 per 14 students,
Okay.
all that it requires.
That's common among other cities.
Right.
It's common for the use and I guess we got into the nitty gritty of it, yeah, you're probably right, people are probably staying there. But they're probably staying there after 7 or 6, whenever the
That's
classes
actually, yeah, they
are.
open at 6 p.m.
So, typically the other daytime businesses would be closing, which is, but we also have additional, nighttime type businesses there, so don't know until you know.
Yeah, I see in general how that could work out.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we're just, we're trying to follow what the base zoning ordinance says and not deviate too far from it.
Yeah.
But we're deviating enough so that their parking, of the amount of parking they can fit on the site, we were allowing them that.
And then the last question is, could we not say you have to have live plans instead of full officer?
They had concerns with that. That was our first, our first ask was that, and their concerns. I don't know if you can speak to that. Your dad talked to me a lot about it.
Mainly would be irrigation,
Right. There's
getting it up, and you run it up all, I do actually do landscaping myself, so, of course, if we cut the concrete out, we're gonna lose parking to get, islands for landscape. And the faux plants we're talking about buying are still very nice. I mean, you could, they're gonna look first class. I mean, they're not, this is my brother-in-law, sorry, you have something?
I'd also like to add that another concern with the natural irrigation would have been the water dripping and leaking and creating any in front of these buildings and doors.
When you run tubing to it on the buildings, it freezes, in the winter. I told him about the faux plants, and there's some, I don't know if you're familiar with, there's some really nice faux plants. You can't tell, they're that good. And as they fade, I suggested for him just to buy extras, as they fade, or somebody steals them, you gotta have, that's what his concerns were, but every so many years, just swap them out.
That's good. That's all my question.
Commissioners, anyone by Zoom, do you have any questions or concerns?
I'm good.
Anything from you?
Told me he was gonna be like in and out. So, he said he might have to mute himself sometimes, so.
Okay. And can I have a motion, please?
You guys need to be talking about the road going in off Pratt Road.
Yes,
This is the.
yeah,
All right, I don't know how to think of it, make sure.
okay, we have the extra agenda.
Yeah, this is.
We'll go make copies.
Yeah, we good after this, part here.
Yeah, and you vote, y'all here to vote.
Yeah.
Thank you. You want to have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Motion for agenda item has been approved. Moving on, conduct another public hearing, and consider a zoning change from plan development 128 to plan development 128-R to extend the boundary of PD 128 to the west and encompass former 14.
It's okay, Bruce.
Sorry about that. I'm gonna go ahead and start, for agenda item 3. Conduct a public hearing and consider a zoning change from plan development 128 to plan development 128-R to extend the boundary of PD 128 to the west and encompass former lot 14, block C, Beaumont Acres subdivision located on the southeast corner of Hillcrest Lane in Ovilla Road, city of Red Oak, Ellis County, Texas. Case number Z as in zebra, C as in cat, 22-31, requested by Ahmad L. Lucy. Staff, please.
This is a request to extend the boundary of PD 128 on lot 15, block C to lot 14, block C. The septic that will serve lot 15 will be located on lot 14. The septic cannot be located on a separate lot from the property that it serves. Lot 14 and 15 block C currently have two different zoning districts. A plat cannot create one lot that has two different zoning districts. There are no other proposed changes to the existing PD 128 except to apply the boundary of PD 128 zoning to the former lot 14. Staff recommends approval of the request as presented and we're available for any questions.
Thank you. And also, too, this is a public hearing, so those in favor of this item, you can step to the podium and give us your name and your address. If you're correct.
Good afternoon, my name is Vicki Jackson. I'm on 112 Hillcrest Lane. And what I got wasn't really explaining what they were trying to do. And were they changing it to, from residential to commercial or what? So that's what I'm here for, is to see what it's gonna be and what they're wanting to change it from.
I can take that. So, I think, what was it, 6 months ago?
Yeah, that auto minor repair, that was approved for the property.
It's basically an auto loop shop, but due to some technicalities in our zoning, and some technicalities of where they can place their sewer system, they're having to come back and just make the property, the zoning on the property cover the entire property that they own, whereas before, they just had it cover the single lot that they own. They own 2 lots, they zoned 1 lot for the auto lube shop, and then they submitted plans that showed the septic system to be on the other lot, which was not zoned. So, because we can't, permit a septic system on a separate lot from the building it serves, we told them, hey, you've got to replat and make it one big lot. But when we do that, so this is where the technicality parts come in. So when we tell them to zone it one big lot, we have to, when we do plating, we have to follow the zoning. And so because this zoning didn't match this zoning, we couldn't do a plat for them. So now they're just coming back and adding this second lot into the zoning that was already approved, and it doesn't change anything except for it's now saying the zoning applies to this lot and this lot, so we can make one big square out of their lot.
Can I see what the boundaries were?
Yes.
I know there's a house there, so that goes down.
No, so it goes towards the Hillcrest where it's vacant.
Okay.
It's not the house portion, it's everything to the west.
To the west side.
Between the house and Hillcrest Lane. That, yeah. Yeah, so that house is everything to the west of it, you can see up there on the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank
Does that
you.
make sense?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
So, I can go, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't get as much, I get to vote. Thank y'all.
Anyone else, that have any questions or concerns regarding the agenda item? Has any questions? If not, can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
We close the public hearing.
Motion by Karen, second by Leroy. All in favor?
Aye.
Commissioners, do you have any, questions or concerns on this, agenda item 3?
They're still only really taking up half the lot of their building.
Yeah.
Like, they may come back with some business that would.
Yeah, so there's, so if you look at the map here, pull up the aerial. If you look here, there's a sewer line that runs right here. And so when I originally talked to him, I was like, okay, well, you've got sewer over here, you'll just have to go get an off-site easement to dump it over here. So, but they don't wanna do that, they wanna just do septic here, and so the thought would be that eventually, you know, as this develops over here, you know, they would stub sewer up, and then they could take their building off of sewer, get rid of the septic system over here, and then redevelop this into, you know, some other retail, commercial, restaurant, whatever, on the corner.
Any more questions, commissioners? Can I have a motion, please?
I move that we approve item 3.
Leroy? All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Agenda item 3, has been. Moving along, agenda item 4, which is conduct a public hearing and consider a zoning change from commercial district C1 to plan development 147 to allow for a reduction in landscaping and parking requirements and changing uses on the property located at the southeast corner of Water Street and Waller Street, addressed as 100 Waller Street, City of Red Oak, Texas. Case number Z as in zebra, C as in cat, 22-32, requested by Gene. Staff, please.
This is a request to rezone the property from Commercial District 1 to Plan Development 147 to allow for the proposed landscaping to serve for the required landscaping on site. In an effort to provide some greenery and aesthetic appeal to the site, the applicant is proposing planter boxes as shown on the attached pictures. The allowed uses for the site is also being revised to ensure future uses will benefit the city's historic downtown area. The applicant is requesting the parking requirement for restaurants to change from one parking space per 75 square feet to one parking space per 165 square feet. This proposed amendment to the parking requirement for a restaurant would leave the site underparked by more than 50% of the city's parking requirements. There have also been discussions concerning the possibility of converting the vacant property to the north to a parking lot in order to accommodate current and future parking, for the downtown area. If this is the case, it is recommended that this site enter a parking agreement with the lot to the north if a restaurant does occupy this building. Staff does recommend approval of the request if a parking agreement is entered, for the site, if a restaurant were to enter.
This is a public hearing for agenda item 4. So those in favor of this item, you can come to the podium, please state your name and address, please. Those that are in favor, if you have any questions, you can go second.
I'll see him. Right.
If anyone has questions or concerns, please state your name and address. Not can I have a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, James.
Hey,
Public
Ben.
hearing.
Ben,
Sir?
I had a question for Ben.
Yeah, go ahead, James.
So with this particular layout, I keep going in and out. I apologize. I got a bad connection up here, way up here. So how many spots are they going to be short with the way it is, as it is set right now,
For what use?
as a restaurant?
Several. Probably half short, more than half. Maybe they would only have about 45%, at a 1-to-75 ratio.
Okay.
But what we're recommending is he also owns a lot, like directly adjacent, like across the street, so that if he did a parking agreement with himself in this vacant lot, I don't know if you can see that on your screen, but, you know, if he built a parking lot over there and did a parking agreement, it'd be fine.
Is that where the water tower was taken off, or the other side?
No, that's behind, it's behind the, I can't remember what building that's called. It used to have like a, my father's table
Oh,
or
the-
something. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
It's just an empty lot that could be used for parking. But that's not what's in there right now. I think we're just trying, he just wants to get it entitled for certain uses so that he can get a tenant in there. And one of the tenants he wants in there is could be a restaurant. And honestly, that's the things we want downtown, right, is restaurants, and entertainment destination places.
Exactly.
But we want to do it in an orderly fashion.
Correct.
He did do a restaurant. He would still do the parking agreement.
If he didn't do a restaurant, he would need, and depending on the use, because every use has its own parking calculation.
So for all
So what block would that be?
So for all the uses that are being proposed, the site would have enough parking except for
So of those blocks, which would be the other one? 103, 105, 101?
Blocks, what do you mean? I'm not
Well,
understanding what you know.
Is, or his circle is 100. So would 103 or 101, would those be the areas where the parking agreement will be?
Oh, yeah, I don't know, I guess I don't know what that address is, it's just directly across the street from it.
Okay,
I don't know what the exact address is,
okay.
may not even have an address. but it's easily walkable, which was the key that we were looking at.
Right. Scott, do you have anything?
No, this falls within exactly what I think we originally wanted this area to be, so I don't have any issues.
Correct.
Thank you. And can I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve item 4, and with the condition that the restaurant is to occupy the building, parking agreement be entered, the possible future parking lots to the north.
Motion by Leroy. Second by Karen. All in favor?
Lindsay, aye.
McLean, aye.
Ayes have it. Agenda item 4 has been approved. Moving on to agenda item 5, which is conduct a public hearing and consider a zoning change from PD 134 to PD Plan Development Zoning District 134R to increase the number of lots and revise the layout of the Hunter's Ridge subdivision on approximately 84.54 acres as the Lucy Bond survey, abstract number 1103, further described as being generally located on the southeast corner of Benson Lane and Pratt Road in the city of Red Hook, Texas. Case number Z as in zebra, C as in cat, 22-33, requested by Wildwood Development Company. Staff.
This is a request to add 8 more single-family homes to the original subdivision, which had 114 single-family homes. The original PD had a 1.28-acre detention pond on the northeast side of the property. The applicant is proposing to remove this detention pond due to a flood study. The applicant is proposing to have 50% of the garages to be front entry and 50% side or J-swing garage. The proposed subdivision will have 2 phases. Phase 1 on the north, which will have 55 lots, and phase 2 on the south, which will have 67 lots. An open space with mailboxes will be centrally located as opposed to its previous location on the east side of the property. The applicant is proposing decorative metal fences to have brick or stone columns at property corners or at intervals of no greater than 120 feet. The layout of the street network has been slightly altered, and the commercial lot has been reduced from 289,416 square feet to 278,479 square feet. The residential density is still less than 2 units per acre, and the minimum lot size is still 21,800 square feet. Staff recommends approval of the request with the following conditions. Flood study that substantiates the request to remove the detention pond. 85% of the garages will be side or J-swing entry, and 15% of the garages will be front entry, as was approved per the original PD, and that the decorative metal fences shall have brick or stone columns at property corners and intervals at no greater than 50 feet, as was approved per the original PD. And staff is available for any questions, and I believe the applicant is here as well.
Thank you, staff. This is a public hearing. Those in favor of this item, please state your name and your address, and the polling is yours.
Commission, thank you for allowing us to be here yet again. My name is Stephen Utrecht. I live in 375 Chris Drive, California. As Emma has stated, we have originally approved Hunter's Ridge. We have done a flood study to support the downstream analysis to upgrade that to 122 lots. What we improved mostly was the community center. That was, off in the corner. We centrally located this. We wanted to be more of a gathering space, where the kids can wait for the bus. We can get the bus, we can have conversations. We have included artwork and benches and a permanent roof structure, not just to encase the mailboxes, but to give the kids a place to sleep when it's snowing or raining. We just felt like, with with the movement of that, it just made it to where everybody can enjoy this community center, like information center along with the mailboxes. You know, so that's probably the biggest improvement, you know. Many of the other items have been addressed. As far as the 85 to 15% side J swing versus front entry, our goal is just to give you variety. You know, that if we can do 50-50, you know, that just gives the neighborhood more variety. Now, obviously, these are state-size lots, they're half acre, you know, so that garage isn't right on top of the street. There is a setback, and, you know, that is our goal. Now, it's more of a top. It's not, you know, if you say, without a shadow of a doubt, it has to be 85-15. We understand, we want to be a partner with the city, we want to work with you all, and, you know, I have to tell you that, Ben and Emma have been extremely helpful. You know, round number 2 for us, remember, so, round number 1, we went through the landscape display, round number 2, so we want to build with you. We don't want to do something that isn't aligning with the city's vision. So obviously, this is a neighborhood that's going to have expensive homes. We want the development to represent them as so that is the reason we're asking for the 50-50 J swings. Now, as far as the stone columns, the idea is that they would be in the property corners, you know, just to kind of define the lot. And when we were looking at the sizes, put in the 120, as it's not quite 120 feet per lot, it's not exactly 100 either. You know, it certainly isn't 50. Now, we did add stone columns to the community center and mailbox, you know, because it just seemed to fit. You know, made it look like, you know, a high-end quality. So we are wanting to do the stone columns a little further apart, just so it represents the property line as it is. Now, some of them have more of a pie-shaped, you know, structure as where it sits in the neighborhood. Now, there will be an additional stone column on those lots just because they're out. So as far as the feedback, we appreciate them to come back. Yeah. Thoughts for me? We might have. Thank you very much.
Yeah, just, one final, please state your name and address, please.
My name is Chad Adams. I'm president of Wildwood Development, and just want to register, you know, that we're in support of this. I think one of the things that Steve didn't mention was the life-size animals that we're going to have.
I apologize for not mentioning that.
And so you know, along with you know, Hunter's Ridge, we've added some animals. We started off with steers and longhorns, actually some Texas longhorns, and I don't know why Ben, he wouldn't go for that. I mean, he just was determined. I know, he was determined not to go for. And so I don't want to create a theme and a culture out there of the country that it's in, and just like Steve said, attract expensive homes out in that area. So, thank you.
Anyone else in favor of this item? Anyone that's opposed to this item? Yes, of course. Yes.
Name, address, or if you live in the county or the city.
Randall Scott, 868, and 377, right on at the end of the road where this is going. So what are y'all doing about Pratt Road and that intersection at 2377? It wrecks there almost every day. I pull somebody out of the ditch every year, and they're gonna add 114 per house and 8 more. What are y'all doing for that?
That is done at the Tech Dot Road.
Right on Pratt.
Right. You can't do anything that you don't get it on tax base, like money. It is on the master thoroughfare plan. It's on the our master thoroughfare plan to be, widened one day, and that's, the planning that they're doing dedicates the land for that to be done. But as of right now, nothing will be done.
So you say widen one day, you mean like, taking people's property away to live down Pratt Road to make that road wider?
When developers come to develop, they develop with that in mind, and they dedicate that right of way appropriately.
But do you think the people that live down Pratt Road want that taken away from them? I mean, y'all consider this at all?
It's always considered, but, it's part of the thoroughfare plan that is in place for the entirety of the city, as well as, the north end of the county.
Okay.
So, land is needed, land is either paid for or paid for by the entity doing the license, or it's dedicated at the time of development.
Or just taken?
It's never taken, it's always paid for.
So by adding all them extra people in that area, right, you're gonna increase all the traffic in there, but you're not doing anything to improve the subsystem and everything on the roads. So I've been down Pratt Road, and I don't know if y'all have recently, it's not a smooth road to go down as it is now, with all the semi-truck traffic and everything else going down there. But you have no plans to improve that, but you're gonna overpopulate that area, and apparently have a commercial business there without improving the subsystem.
Commercial is a placeholder, so in the future, when 2377 and Pratt Road are done in such a way that it supports enough cars for commercial, then commercial people will come. Right now, they don't want to do commercial, they would rather put in 30 more houses right there. But as a city, we have to have a long-term outlook. So our long-term outlook tells us that Pratt Road, the way the county and city thoroughfare plans are laid out, tells us that Pratt Road and 2377 intersection will be a major intersection.
It is now.
So,
there's not more than 5 seconds go by without a car going down that road.
yeah, so.
And there's nothing there but.
In terms of people living out in the county, that's a major intersection. In terms of city and commercial development, that doesn't have a drop in the bucket. So no commercial development is gonna wanna go there until enough cars are going by there every day. And that is supported through getting the roads widened, in the future.
And y'all are talking about riding Pratt Road, but y'all don't control 2377.
It would be a joint project with TxDOT. They're already, I think I think they already have most of the right of way through there for a widening.
Okay.
But yeah, that would be a joint venture with, TxDOT and probably the county.
But all it'll be at the end of Pratt Road is a stop sign till then, and no guardrails or nothing to keep cars from slamming into my house or coming across the fence into my yard like I do every year. Nothing in place.
Yep, I mean, you're welcome to reach out to your county commissioners to talk about that.
Trying to talk to you guys about that,
We don't control that intersection right there.
but y'all control whether they put more houses over there or not.
You're right, and we're trying to get more houses in there so we can get funding to do projects like Pratt Road.
You're already putting a majority of them in as it is now. We're just talking about adding 8 more.
Right, so you can't, chicken and egg situation, we gotta have them in before we can do it, we can't go do it beforehand.
That's all I got.
One last comment, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Yes. I just kind of wanted to, get your feedback, or what your thoughts were on the J swing versus front entry. How do you feel about the 50/50 versus the 85/15, have any,
Have you asked the public hearing, right?
thoughts about that?
Still in the public hearing.
We still have, yeah, still.
Yeah, so we'll discuss that after the public hearing.
Yeah, more discussion after the public hearing.
You got it, thank you.
That's something you guys never brought up, sir? Is that something you never brought up to staff? Is that something?
No. Yeah.
Okay, I thought you were talking. Okay, so we did receive, postage that were against this item. Reverend Scott, you spoke, against this item. We have another individual, couple, Larry and Lisa Scott, 908 F 2377. They were against this item also. Okay, so I just wanted to, yeah, make sure we had that in the level. Let's copy something, make sure that's on the record. Also too, we have another email, from Sarah Christian. Did you want to read it?
Either one, or?
Yes, sir, you can see, just give your address also. I didn't have your address, I was gonna ask you about that.
Good evening, my name is Sarah Christian, my address is 866 Farm Market 2377, and I'm the neighbor to Randall Scott. I have only lived here for a year, and I am still having issues mowing over ruts that were put in my front yard from people running the stop sign on Pratt Road at 2377. So my question is, when was the last time that traffic was assessed for Pratt Road in 2377? If it's not a drop in the bucket compared to what a city intersection would be, when was the last time it was assessed?
I don't have an answer for that.
There's already construction projects going on around the area, and it has caused Pratt Road to become that detour road. It's only going to become a permanent situation when these additional houses get put in. It is a concern. There are brakes squealing multiple times every single day. I'm having to redo how I'm doing my own home so that I can put funding up to have a fence to secure around my front yard to keep vehicles from crashing into my front yard. They would have hit my pickup truck if I had not been at work that day. And this may not matter to anybody here but me, but I am by myself and I'm having to fund all this. And you're wanting to take a small town and make it into something where crime rates go up. There's already people having issues with the schooling system, people moving in from out of district, and this is just gonna complicate all of that. That's really all I have. Thank you.
I think you said. We had another, the board is in, Klein. They were also against this item. They have 6 different comments. I'm going to go ahead and read those. Number 1 is the increased traffic will not be safe due to vehicles racing up and down Vincent Lane as they do currently. So if you do approve this development, it will add to the hazardous and unsafe conditions. Number 2, there does not need to be any entry on Vincent Lane. The only entry approved should be off Pratt Road, only to keep children and residents safe. Number 3, if you plan to annex this into the city limits, you are definitely against this zoning change. Number 4, we moved from the city to the country to enjoy the freedoms that it offers. There are livestock that would also be affected by the zoning change because of ordinance. 5, we enjoy shooting and other outdoor sports that are allowed in the county along with celebrations and holiday activities. Number 6, the roads are already stressed, and with adding this development, will only become worse.
One thing I'll address in there that we kind of glossed over since we were just amending this zoning is that Vincent Road is going to be upgraded Right now, I mean, it's essentially a dirt road, so it'll get paved with, something that will support, emergency vehicles.
Anyone else that's against this item or any questions? Have a motion to close the public hearing?
Move to close the public hearing.
Second by Leroy. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Public hearing has been closed. Thank you, James. Ayes have it. Public hearing has been closed. Commissioner, do you have any questions or concerns regarding agenda item 5? We see this before.
We do, Jason, you're really concerned about these subdivisions that are high density, that want to row garages facing the street.
Yeah, it's also, yeah, so and traditionally, it also lends itself to more vehicles parking in driveways and on the street. Because, you know, I've heard people call it the Texas basement, people fill their garage and then don't park in there, right? So the J-swing gives someone to park, gives a spot to park way up next to the house instead of parking, and overhanging the sidewalk. That's okay. But, again, that's in like you say, in a more packed subdivision where you've got a 20-foot or 25-foot build line where people would, park in front of the garage and be overhanging. These have 30, with the exception of the ones along this, eastern, boundary. But they stipulated the ones along the eastern boundary with the 20-foot build line would all be J-swing. But their credit.
What was the?
It would provide more elevations, and it does make it easier for staff to, check the anti-monotony standards, because we got, one house with a J-swing, one with a front entry, another one, it makes it quicker to review. As soon as we see a front entry next to two, it meets all the anti-monotony standards. So, but I know classically,
Are they
vary against, front entry garages.
So go ahead.
What was the minimum size of the square footage of the smallest home?
Of the homes?
Yes.
Yeah, 2,400 square feet.
When we did this before, what, wasn't there a minimum?
Yeah, 2,400 square foot minimum living area.
Okay, and none of that is changing, correct?
No, that didn't change.
I'll search up and leave them all up and all the people. All those already. Windows, give it all.
The public hearing is to hear your opinion.
You heard the opinions of everyone against it.
We haven't used that before.
Yeah, there's been no vote.
We haven't used
No.
Yeah, it was both to close the public hearing.
Sorry,
But you-
how these things go.
That's all I was reading the code.
Okay, but I mean, I'll say, that you remember that you guys do not live in the city. Right?
We live in Wisconsin.
Right.
But it still affects us.
I understand.
And I have police reports from every single time they took out our mailboxes and stuff and went through and almost hit our vehicles, my dog. I've had an ambulance almost hit in my front
Do you
yard.
wanna come up and put that in the record, or?
Sure, I will.
Okay.
We have to open the public hearing.
You already called it. If you wanna open it up, you can, you don't have to.
I mean, I can tell you who to talk to.
I recommend, open the public hearing.
Okay, I move that do we have to vote to reopen, or can you just reopen?
Move to reopen.
Okay, I move that we reopen the public hearing.
All right,
Okay, my name's Sandy Morgan. I am Randall Scott's partner, live at 868 FM 2377. I work at home. I have 4 dogs, and we have had to weld a corner to our fence because people do hit and run. We've lost 4 mailboxes, 2 within a month. TxDOT came out and replaced it, moved it. Ruts went through my neighbor's yard. They've gone through my father-in-law's yard. We have I-beams as part of our bracing by a tree in my front yard. And you want to put extra people, like he said, 122 houses, there. And yes, we're county, but you're right across the street, and then going up and down that road, they're gonna have to go down FM 2377, and they're gonna have to go down Pratt Road, which is right in front of my house. So I worry about my own safety at my home, and that of my dog, and all of my vehicles. That's more homeowner stuff that I have to deal with. There are police records, police reports from these 6 months where I had 4 different vehicles come through our yard. Nobody stopped. They destroyed our property. And like Sarah said, we have to pay money to fix that. So you can go back and look for them. I go, the second time our mailbox went down, we didn't have a mailbox for 2 weeks. That's ridiculous. We bought our house there. And, not to mention, if they they're moving retaining pond because of the flooding. If they do that, what does that flooding mean for us? When they reroute the water. How much flooding is gonna come into those 3 properties or 4 properties? What's gonna happen then? I'm gonna lose my house. They're gonna start messing with my foundation. So once again, y'all put this in, you can't fix the road, you wanna put the houses in, but then we pay the consequences.
I have a motion to close the public hearing.
Yeah, what do you mean about the
I was because we have representatives here that represent the city of Red Oak. And I was just saying, you were asking why that passed it without, listening to y'all. And I'm saying they are representatives of the city of Red Oak, not the city of Crown Hill, not the county. That's all I was saying.
Okay. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing, please? All in favor?
Aye.
Can I ask one thing before we go further? So this bid was already approved earlier.
Yes.
All we're doing today is changing how many houses, a few things about it, but even
Yes.
if we vote no to things that request today, the neighborhood's still going.
The other one's still there, still valid, yeah.
So being, I guess, regarding the traffic, so we heard this quite a few times, that's city commissioner.
County.
County commissioner,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, county commissioner, that's who these individuals need to.
For the 2377 stuff, Pratt Road, we know it needs to be upgraded. That's why we get right of way when these developments come in, so that in the future, we can do stuff like improve the road all the way up. But we're not gonna go out there and spend $20 million to serve, a few homes. And when I say a few, I mean, a couple hundred. Yes, I understand that. But in terms of $20 million being supported by a few hundred homes, math doesn't add up. We literally cannot pay that much money for the road. That's why it's in the state it's in, because it's been under county control, and they don't have enough money to do anything with it either.
Those, that needs to be handled.
If they're specifically talking about 2377,
Right.
that would be a commission. Pratt is shared between the city and the county. So there's portions that are city, portions that are county. But again.
But is there a,
Our master thoroughfare plan to be approved up to O'Bill Road. And if y'all remember Creek Bend, we talked that subdivision, or not Creek Bend, Creekwood, way up to the north of the county line. you know, that they're improving, because they had the properties on both sides and they needed to realign the road to, you know, to have roads into the subdivision.
Right.
Right? And so they're actually, you know, doing, as part of their development, they're doing a part of the road that's because it's internal to the subdivision and they can't access their subdivision without it. But it goes all the way through, and that's all based on the thoroughfare plan.
Do we charge impact fees to developers to go towards roads?
Currently, we do not charge roadway impact fees. We are, and for y'all that don't know, roadway impact fees are just like this. When a development comes in, they make an impact to the system, the roadway system. And so when they return in a permit, they would pay a fee to help fund future projects. We are putting that in place right now, but it takes a large study to determine the needs of the system. And then additionally, they look at cost of the system, and then the overall network that we have proposed, what that cost would be, and then they break it up into sectors and say, okay, if you build a subdivision in sector 2, the impact fee per lot, because you're generating generally 2 cars for that lot, would be $2,300. And then once that whole area gets developed, you've collected all these impact fees, and then you can add that into your capital program to start doing these roadway networks.
But we are in the process of putting that together, you're saying?
Yes, it wouldn't apply to this one yet because, if they get instituted in 2023, there'd be a 1-year grace period, so.
But we're paying for Vincent Road.
Or, I'm sorry, what?
We're paying for Vincent Road.
Yeah, they're redoing Vincent Road right now, all the way down to the edge of development, because right now it's, about halfway down, it kind of goes, to dirt.
What is the time frame that they're looking at completing this subdivision on phase 1 and then phase 2?
I believe it's 12 to 18 months for phase 1, and then no time frame on phase 2.
No, not currently.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Scott, do you have anything?
Yes, sir, I do. Tonight, Ben, and for clarification, we are only approving 8 additional homes. The rest is completely done, correct?
Correct.
Okay, my question is the flood study that's been done. I'm not an expert in that area, of course, but I'm going to defer that back to you as an engineer. I have a little bit of concern changing anything that we have currently done as a city for detention retention ponds. Can you give me a little bit more engineer insight on that?
Yes, sir. So our drainage manual allows for 2 options to look at or handle drainage within a development. The first one is to just provide detention, to detain the on-site runoff from pre-existing condition to post-developed condition, essentially where they store the water and release it slowly over time. The second is to go do a downstream analysis to show that there's no rise and no detrimental effect within the floodplain that the storm drain enters into the creek. And so they have provided that. And so just doing a quick review, there's no, the report does show no rise in elevation of the creek. I will send that off for like a very detailed third-party review, just to make sure the numbers are right. But the current report that I have, all of the report indicates that there is no rise. Now, when I do send it off, if it comes back and they say, hey, these numbers aren't right, then we'll discuss again. And if we can't come to an agreement on what is right and wrong in the numbers, they may lose a lot or two and have to go back to detention.
So my question, Ben, I have And I'm like, Scott, I remember us having this hearing and a lot of the concern was about flooding. If this is approved and there is flooding, where does that lie? Is that on us or the developer?
It'll be on the developer and their engineer.
I'll just follow that up with the same thing. I'm very hesitant to do anything in that area without it being completely approved by our city engineers and people that we hold accountable. So that's my only concern on these 8 lots.
Anything with Leroy? Questions or concerns?
About the flood study, but on condition that it is approved, that it does calculate that it will or it should. I have a problem with it. As the J swing, again, since this subdivision is not acre lots, but half acre lots, it's very good sized lots, I wouldn't have a problem with 50-50 myself. If it was 4 acre lots, 0.2 acre lots, then basically that would be required or needed, but I'm not so worried about here, although you said they did have some in some areas that were smaller.
The lots aren't smaller, they're all half acre.
Okay.
I'm saying the setback on some is a little bit, it's just on,
They just can't build it right.
yeah, it's just 10 lots, yeah.
And that doesn't affect the septic spray either?
No, so those, what are you asking affects the septic spray?
By doing a J swing, doesn't that push the house back or no?
It can, yes, I mean, just depending on the footprint of the house.
But isn't there a minimum setback when you have that what is it, septic spray field?
Yeah, but the lots are over 200 feet deep, so, I mean, if you're
Okay.
talking about a 3-foot pad, you still have 130 something feet, for your
Okay,
septic spray.
all right.
So, we're basically what it's saying, 50 feet versus what? They want to do 150?
They wanted to do 120, and that's based on lot width, and we just said 50, because that's what we had in the previous one. Right, isn't that what we had, 50? Yeah.
Appreciate the animal addition. I think Ben should get some credit for that, his suggestion or artwork. That's definitely an improvement.
About the flood study, making sure we have there, and, the garage percentage on going the strong one or the other, your lots are not as. And would agree that we want the columns every 50 feet. And I recognize the concern with extra car on the road. If we were on the northern county, on the other side of Dallas, we would already have these roads built because they have their support from, to provide money to them. We don't have that, so we have to wait until we get enough houses to justify the cost.
Yeah, just so you guys know, the flood study, I have read it, and it reads all the things that I needed to read and say, but there's a bunch of technical data in there that you have to run through programs that I don't have. And so what I do is I take that and I give that to a third party who runs those programs all day long.
Right.
And they'll be entering all that stuff and make sure all the numbers are right and make sure all the data is correct. So I have looked at it, I
Yeah, that was my next question. Yeah,
I've looked at it, the data they have presented looks correct, and the report says what it needs to say in order to, feel comfortable moving forward. But now, if we get, like I said, if we get to it, and I'm in there with the third-party reviewer, and they're saying like, no, these numbers aren't right, then we're gonna have to, they'll probably have to lose a lot to get the pension back, if they can't come to an agreement on what's right, from the number standpoint.
So that'd be back at the 114 homes?
Or whatever would be,
Whatever.
they just cannot, so what we did originally, and what we do with on a lot of these, is say, you can have up to this number of lots. And so previously, it was up to 113 lots, or whatever it was. And so now they can have up to 122 lots, but if they only get 120, it doesn't have to come back. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to come back
Right.
to the council.
Ben, can it be approved that they could go forward, but not building those homes until that study comes back? So that if
So the process will be, so this is just zoning, right? We're not platting. We're not subdividing the land. We're doing a preliminary plat, which is essentially a planning document. It does not get filed at the county of record, so it does not create lots. So when they do the final plat, that's when they haven't even designed the subdivision, right? So they've got to go through all the engineering, and that will include the flood study. And so I would not approve the final plat to move forward until the flood study is 100% complete, done, signed off on, and ready to go.
Okay, I'm good with that.
And can I have a motion, please, for agenda item 5?
Ben, how do you need that to read with the, with the study still being out?
It's through the process, it's still, you can just approve it as is, because again, we're just talking about zoning. The process to move forward to construction would require them to have this finalized before they can do anything. So the only thing we're really, I'm not saying you cannot not be concerned about it, but what the staff was suggesting was, that the garages be back to 1585, if y'all so please, and then also the metal fences having the columns at 50 feet. So if you make a motion, the motion would be to approve as is, which is 50-50 J-swing and front entry, and columns at 120 feet. Or you can motion with staff's recommendation, which is 85-15 on the garages, and columns at intervals of 50 feet. Let me know if that didn't make sense.
No, it did.
Also remember, the final plat still comes back through, and that would, I can update you guys on the status of the flood study, which we would not accept an application for the final plat unless the flood study is completed.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve item 5 as presented with staff recommendations being a part of that motion.
By Scott,
I'll second it.
second by James. All in favor?
Lindsay, aye.
Ayes have it. Agenda item 5 has been approved. Agenda item 6, which is to consider approving the preliminary plat of proposed plant development, PD 134 R, 422 family homes, associated open spaces, and one commercial lot on approximately 84.54 acres has been loosely bond surveyed, abstract number 1103, further described as being generally located on the southeast corner of Benson Lane and Pratt Road, City of Red Oak, Texas. Case number P.S. Paul, X and Sam, 22-17, requested by Wildwood Development.
Commissioners, this is a preliminary plat, request for the Hunter's Ridge subdivision, which we just discussed.
Thank you, staff. Commissioner Jackson, any questions about this preliminary plat?
Just remember, this isn't a plat, it doesn't create the lots, it's a preliminary plat, it's a zoning, it's a planning document that allows us to, in the future, when they go to plat their first phase, we'll make sure that they're following these phase lines and things like that.
Thank you. Questions, commissioners? If we don't, can we have a motion, please?
Approve item 6. Again, these recommendations are met to the flood study. 85-15 garages for casing.
Motion by Leroy, second by Karen. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, the agenda item 6 has been approved. Now, a motion to adjourn, please.
A motion that we adjourn.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioner, thank you, James, thank you, Scott, anybody else?
All right.